Hey, everybody. This is another edition of Positive Tea with Fee, and I am your host, Felicia Brogy. This is the finale of our first season. I want to thank you guys again for all of the support. I want to thank you for all of the love. I want to thank you for sending in requests on certain subjects. I want to thank you for being here and allowing me to share my story with you. You have all been an inspiration. You have all been loyal supporters. And I am so blessed for the opportunity to be here with you. So, this has been an awesome, awesome season. We started back in July of this year. And I just started this to be able to share my story, to give inspiration, and to get inspiration. And I answered a vision, an assignment that was given to me from a higher power, and I went with it. And as humbling as it is that I have as many followers on this page and as many supporters as I have, as many likes, as many inboxes, as many repeat supporters, it's not something that I knew would happen. I just went with it without any expectations. And I want to thank you for being with me on this journey. I also want to thank my friend Mike with Podcast Network 49, my husband Clark, and my overseer, Pastor Diane, and all of the other supporters that have been with me in this journey. And I definitely want to thank God for using me as a tool of information. It is very amazing. So I want to thank you guys, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do in our next season. So in the finality of the show, we want to center around the topic I chose, which is before the next level is reached. We are in the last month of 2021. There's a lot of water under the bridge, and there are so many opportunities waiting on us as we embark on our next year. And that's for me, that's for you, that's for all of us. And so we need to get ready to thrive. We need to get ready to be different in 2022 in the ways that we need. And we need to be able to progress past anything that didn't work out and just get ready to go. And so the first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is revolution. Revolution in itself, it is an expression, it's a political term, it's a technical term, it's a social term. But what it means is forming organized structure with the goal of change. And we have to do that on a personal level to be able to thrive, to show up different in 2022, and to reach the goals that we set and fulfill our purpose. If we're doing fine, wonderful. Like we've said on the show before, keep those things. But the things that you know you need to change, the things that just did not work out, you need to put a plan in place for there to be a complete movement in who you are, what you are, and how you are. And that's going to determine where you're going. That revolution is not something that you can lay down on. It's not something that you can be full speed one day on and short step in the next. In order for there to be a complete revolution, you've got to be committed and determined to show up differently. That's why it's a revolution. Now, there's lots of people, like we've discussed before, that make New Year's resolutions. Okay. And the difference being that those are things that usually end up being short term. They're deep seated. You might have good intentions when you make them, but you have to have little goals to meet the big goals. And in determining all that, you have to strategically change the way you show up, the way you think, the way you see things, the perspective of life, even the perspective of success versus failure. And that's going to take a complete change, a movement, a personal movement in who you are. That's what I had to do. Before 2021, I was not where I needed to be. I was headed in the right direction. I had the tools to go there, but I wasn't where I needed to be. 2021 took me to the next level because at the beginning of the year and at the end of last year, I decided to make the pandemic an opportunity. And I've been blessed because of it. But the Felicia that I brought into this year, the Felicia that I brought along with me, is not the Felicia that showed up for everything else. It was a different Felicia. My perspective was different. My outlook was different. The way I handled things was different. It was a complete revolution. And I'm never going to be exactly where I need to be or want to be. There's always going to be growth. But I know that as long as I'm working towards, in, around, about my purpose, and I'm still growing and showing up differently, this revolution is going to continue. And that's okay. It's okay to always want more. It's okay to always go hard, but you have to determine what that is for you. And that's the only way you're going to go to the next level. Second thing we're going to talk about in this finale, boss up. You got to boss up. You got to stop making excuses. You got to stop wanting to do what's comfortable, wanting to do what's easy, complaining about how this is, complaining about how that is. In order for you to truly, truly, truly boss up, you have got to center yourself around being awesome, being the best you can be. That means you're going to have to hustle hard sometimes. That means sometimes you're going to have to get out of bed when you don't want to get out of bed. The grind never stops, the growth never stops. When you're directing your life and you're owning your life and you're centered around achieving the positive goals that you've set for yourself that are leading you in your purpose, you can't be down on the job. So many days I was so tired, I wanted to stay in bed. So many days I would sleep to a certain point, and then there was something in the back of my mind that said, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it. If it was easy, everybody would do it. You got to remember that. If it was easy, every single person would be a Denzel Washington. Every single person, every single person would be somebody that was somebody. Every person would be a JFK if it were easy. Everybody would be an Oprah if it were easy. But guess what? That's not how it works. It's not going to be easy. Even things that come naturally with our talents and our gifts that God gave us, they're not going to be easy, because if they were easy, everybody could do it. Now, granted, some days are going to be easier than others, and some days are going to be complete hell, of course. But if it was easy and a piece of cake and ordinary and something that was determined by laying low and doing the bare minimum, everybody would do it. But that's not how it works when you're trying to accomplish goals. You're going to have things that continue to come up. You're going to have things that continue to hit you in the face. You're going to have things that make you feel like you're not doing enough. And sometimes you need to listen to those voices and kick it in gear again. But you know what? You've got to be your biggest supporter. You've got to be the one that determines, this is what I have to do to get to the next level. And this is what I have to do to maintain this next level that I have arrived at. And so bossing up is not something that you can slack up on. The hustle is real and the hustle has to continue. And it's not just about financial gain, it's about understanding that within our self development, what you see today, You've got to love that first. We talked about this last week. If I didn't love the Felicia that I was before I was the Felicia that I am, I wouldn't be the Felicia that I am. You got to love yourself enough to push through the hard times and stop expecting people to stick around when you're not pleasant to be around. It's not going to happen. So I had to change my mindset, and that required bossing up. And it's going to continue to require bossing up and supervising your life to the next level. The third thing we're going to talk about is shake it up. Shaking it up means even during the hard times, you got to figure out what you're going to do to get past that. You got to figure out how you're going to stay on track. So, a few years ago, there was a really, really bad ice storm, and a friend of mine fell on the ice. She fell, she hurt her knee, she broke part of a backbone, and she was just really messed up for a while. And she was very depressed for a while. And it got to a point where she knew that what she wanted to do during that time was just not something, it wasn't realistic anymore. So, for a small period of time, she took a sit down job in a call center. And while she was healing, going through her therapy and everything, she was able to learn more about herself. And as time went on, she kind of developed skills that she wouldn't have had if things would have worked out. So, see, sometimes whenever we're on a path, everything looks good, everything's working out, you're staying motivated, you're seeing that you're reaping a harvest for everything you've reaped. And everything just looks like peaches and roses. Even on the bad days, there's still good days. But then something throws you a curveball. And within that curveball, no matter how big or small, it can knock you off your course. And she didn't have a plan B. And because she didn't have a plan B, it caused her to look around, get support from other areas. And eventually she had to accept the fact that she had to kind of take a detour. Now, she did end up getting into something that was very lucrative, something that was very self growing, self promoting, and she was able to help people. But that's not what she started out wanting to do. But because of the ice storm and everything that came, about after the fall, she had to get herself together first and foremost physically. But it wasn't just the physical changes. There were the mental and emotional changes that came along with that. And it wasn't easy. See, when we're throwing these curveballs, we may accept them, we may decide that we're going to do whatever we have to do to survive and make it. But sometimes you get to the point where you're just existing, just surviving. But you got to shake it up. You got to figure out a way to be okay when your situation has to change. You can have the same purpose, but have to go about it a different way. And there's been a lot of curveballs in my life personally in the last couple of years. And sometimes those are not directly things that happen to you. They could be connected to people who are close to you, people who you've mentored, or people who are your mentors, depending on the situation, depending on the individual journey. But you got to shake it up. You got to shake it up with positivity. You have to look at things in a way where you're controlling your response to the situation, although you're not controlling the situation. And at first, it's a process because you actually have to grieve your former plan of action sometimes. And it can make you or break you. But by shaking it up with positivity, you're kind of rising to the occasion with any situation. You're kind of allowing yourself to be in a position like similar to a chameleon. A chameleon becomes its surroundings in color and texture. It is a very, very special creation of God. And we have to kind of become chameleons when we have times in our lives where things are just thrown out there that throw us off completely. And by determining that you're going to be a positive energy at all times, it doesn't mean you're not being realistic. It just kind of means you're taking what you're given. You gotta smile. It works out in the end. The expression "fake it till you make it." You know, you gotta kind of shake it up with positivity in determining that whatever your situation is, you're gonna make the best of it. And sometimes you can't see a way to make a situation purposeful or positive, but it's not always something that's going to happen overnight. Try to be kind to other people when you're shaking it up with positivity. I found that in any situation you're in, when you're nice to other people, it makes you feel good. You have the power to make people feel good. And when you make other people feel good, it makes you feel good. That's why the Bible says there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. You can be having the worst time, but by making a difference in somebody else's life, even though you may not be having the best time at that moment, it's going to make a big difference. I think that us as humans, we are automatically programmed to try to be helpful, to try to be positive, to try to brighten somebody else's day. And that is obviously something that we don't think always at the moment is going to make the biggest difference, but it does. It is soothing to the soul. So just keep busy. Don't give up in a situation. When you're being positive and you're shaking it up, don't give up. It may not work out the first time, but find another way. Compliment another person, write another person a letter, do what you need to do to try to brighten up somebody else's day, and it's going to brighten up yours. You can also shake it up with positivity by not comparing yourself to everyone else. Everybody else is on a different journey. They've got their own thing going on, like we've discussed on the show before. you know it has its advantages, dealing with the social scheme of things directly or indirectly, virtually or in person, but you got to avoid any type of negative comparison. It's just going to bring you down, and it's going to make a situation worse than what it needs to be. Focus on yourself. Be happy for other people when they're succeeding and they're happy, but don't wallow in that. Other people's opinions are less effective when you have a good opinion of yourself. When people think negatively of you, that's only going to go so far when you think positively about yourself. So you got to make peace with yourself in whatever situation you're in, and focusing on creating the best you can be in any situation. Some situations are just temporary. Some situations, like, my friend and her accident with the ice, some things you just have to do for that moment to get to the next level. And you have to try your best to be the best no matter what you're doing, no matter if it's something that you didn't plan from the beginning, or if it's something that you just kind of stumbled upon, or if it's just what you got to do to survive and put food on the table for that time. Don't be bitter, don't be unproductive, don't be jealous of others. Just try your best to keep in mind that everything you do is part of your journey. It may not be your last stop, but make it your best stop while you're there. And by all means, and by any means necessary, please remain positive. Negativity causes us to be unproductive. And in a lot of situations, I speak from personal experience. I know it's easier said than done. I know that being positive can sometimes sound very unrealistic, but I will promise you this from personal experience. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, over time, you're bound to start getting more positive results. And that is not just something that I'm saying, that's something I know for a fact, and I stand on that. Positivity gets in your system, and just like negativity, once it gets in your system, it's hard to get out. It's the same with positivity. It is so hard to look at things in a negative light when you repeatedly tell yourself it's going to be okay. It may not work out the way you want it to work out, but it's going to work out somehow, some way. So when you are enthusiastic about what you do, even if it's not your dream come true or the way you saw things, you feel the positive energy, and it's a very simplistic way to keep motivating yourself. So, the last thing that we're going to talk about is positive outcomes. Um, in determining everything that you face this year, determining how you're going to show up from here on out, the energy that we spoke about, the positivity and all the things that we're trying to go for to inspire ourselves, now more than ever, it's critical to have tools in your disposal that are going to allow you to keep being a candle that's a burning light. There are things that will beat us down in life. Realistically speaking, there's ongoing anxiety, there's constant negative news, and there's uncertainty in the world. We live in a world where it's not hard to find negativity by just looking around, and that's as realistic as we can get. But in sustaining a positive mindset, it's going to give you emotional power. And that emotional power is going to allow you to make better decisions. It's going to allow you to follow through with your obligations. You'll be able to use coping skills throughout tough times, and you'll be able to see life through a different lens and focus on an ocean of positives, not a puddle of negatives. And it's going to lead you to a place where you're able to heal old wounds. There's a lot of things in our past that will continue to look us in the face. And there are going to be things that are challenges. So, for the next season, as we go into the new year, we're going to focus on more specific things. The first season of the show, I've really tried to focus on changing our mindset, uh, to share ways that I've been able to really exercise a different outlook of things. And it's really been a breath of fresh air to be able to share a lot of those life exercises that I've been able to maintain that have, helped me with my journey in having a positive mentality. It started out with that revolution. I was able to boss up in a lot of ways and shake a lot of things off. And there's been a lot of positive outcomes because of that. But for us to really dive in and take off, we're going to start focusing on specific daily doses of positive energy in certain areas of our lives. Parenting, we've touched on that. We've touched on our relationship with our parents as well as how we are in parenting. Careers, we've talked about that. So we're going to get more specific with the next season, and it's going to take us to that next level. So I really want us to take the show to a direction of really hitting on specific situations in our everyday lives. Um, I really have a passion for positive energy, but I want us to kind of start gearing towards specific life circumstances and how I've dealt with specific things. I want to be a lot more transparent with you guys. Um, Continue to send messages to me, and maybe we can work in some of the personal concerns and specific subjects that you guys want me to touch on. I'm always welcome to information that you find that you might have researched. And, just understand that we're still on this journey together. The power comes from focusing on positivity, but we also want to be realistic. And so I'm really excited about the next season of the show. I'm really excited about what 2022 is going to bring. I hope you guys have a very wonderful weekend. I am wishing you guys wonderful holidays with your families. And although this is the last show of the year, um, I want you guys to stay tuned and look for our new time and our new day on the show. And I want you guys to keep in mind how blessed we are to be able to share our journeys with one another, learn from one another, keep thriving, keep writing down your goals. Don't get off track. This can be a time that can be, pretty blurry for everybody, but make sure you're the person that shows up in positivity. I'm proud of you guys. I'm very, elated and excited and blessed about the show, the first season, how good everything has went, and I'm looking forward to sharing another journey with you in the next season. So, you guys enjoy the rest of your year. Thank you for tuning in to the finale, the season finale of Positive Tea with Fee. And I want to thank you for being on this journey with me. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I will see you in January. Love you guys. Be blessed.